Hey, what's good? Welcome to my Cinderella Man movie review starring Russell Crowe and Renee Zell- Zellweger, I believe that's her name. This movie traces the story of James J. Braddock, a fighter back in the 1920s and 30s during the Depression era of boxing and of the United States of the economics, pretty much. This movie came out in 2005, and I believe it it was pretty popular. It's a good movie. I like this movie. Definitely a thumbs up. Recommended. I wouldn't put it over Raging Bull, but I would say this is definitely worth a watch, a must watch. Uh, if you already watched a lot of other boxing movies, Rocky, Raging Bull, then definitely watch this one. Uh, I definitely would say to watch this if you're a boxing fan or fan of the boxing in that era. You see how things went around in that era. So the movie starts with James J. Braddock, our protagonist. He's in a fight and he's beating up his opponent and he knocks him out. And then after he knocks him out, he goes with his manager. They go in a fancy car, and his manager gives him, I believe it was a few $1,000s, like 3 or 8, I think. I don't remember exactly, but he gave him a good chunk of money for back then. It was 1928, and then he went back home to his wife in a big house, man, a big house. Everybody was well off. He was just chilling with his wife in a fireplace, and things were looking great. Then it flashes back to the future. It was 5 years after that, 1933. It said 4 years after the Depression started, and now they're wearing like dirty clothes, old clothes, and they live in a smaller place, and it looks like they're poor, right? Because they are now. The Depression hit them pretty hard, and now they're struggling to get enough money just to eat, just to feed their children. So James A. Braddock has a fight, and this fight is very dirty. It's full of clinching and fouling, and it comes to the point where the referee just stops the fight. He just stops the fight, and his manager and him, they go backstage, and they're like, dude, why'd you stop the fight? He's like, man, you're a disgrace to boxing. You're a disgrace to all everything boxing was supposed to be. So they don't pay him. Not only do they not pay him, they decommission him. He can't fight anymore. Plus, he has a broken hand. He broke his hand from that fight because it was broken. It was broken before the fight, and he broke it even worse after that fight. He broke it in 3 places. So now he doesn't have a job. Pretty much, he can't fight, and he has a broken hand. And his wife's like, "What are we gonna do? You can't work." He's like, "I could work, woman." No, no, he didn't say that last part, but he said, "I could work. I can work." So he goes. They go. He goes to a place like a factory, and there's pretty much no jobs. So he's just leaning towards the fence, and they pick people from the big crowd that comes because everybody wants to feed their family, but not everybody has a job then. So he doesn't get picked the first time. He's like, so eventually, second time he goes, he does get picked, and he's working, but he has a broken hand. He makes a friend, And his friend's like, man, you see that? And he's like, what's your name? He said James Braddock. Like, man, yeah, there's some bum fighting that with the same name. He's like, oh yeah, yeah, it made me lose money the other day. So they kind of start a friendship right there, and they're picking up like bags with a hook, but his hand starts hurting, and he's like, dude, I need this job. I need this job. You can't slow us down. He's like, I'm good, man. And then supervisor comes, hey, what's going on here? And then the other guy's like, nah, everything's all right. Supervisor's like, all right then, say, get to work. They go out afterwards, and his coworker buys him a beer, and thus the friendship began. What happened? But the problems still are going on because it's the depression, and they just don't have any money. They don't have any money to pay the light bill, the yeah, pretty much the light bill and the rent. They don't have much money. So his wife's like, dude, I'm gonna take the kids to my mom's or to my sister's house. He's like, no, please, I promised my son that I would never send them off. I promised him. And she's like, oh, I already sent them. So her kids to she sent her kids to her mother's place and her sister's place. And he's like, damn. And at this point, he hasn't fought in a while because he's decommissioned. And this is when he goes to the commissioner's office, pretty much where all the managers are. And he's like, please, I need to feed my family. I don't have enough money. And it looked like they were gonna foreclose his home. So they give him the money he needs. A lot of people give him money, get pretty much charity, asking for charity. And then he goes to the welfare line, something that he is pretty much ashamed of doing, but he has to do it to feed his family. So now he's getting welfare from the government. But so he's barely getting along because of the welfare, and because he's now being picked from the crop of people waiting to get that job. He's now getting picked most of the times. So he's barely moving along. Then his ex-manager comes on. He's like, hey man, you want to fight? He's like, man, fuck off. He's like, no, I'm serious, bro. He said, I need a spot for you on the undercard of Primo Carnera versus Max Bear, the guy that this guy was supposed to fight. He couldn't. He couldn't. It pulled out. He pulled out. I think he got injured or something like that. And he's like, damn. It was John Henry Lewis, I believe, or John Horn. Yeah, John Henry Lewis, I believe it was. That fight. Let me check. Griffin. John Corn Griffin, actually. There's another John, and then, yeah, his name was John Corn Griffin. And he was just supposed to destroy James Braddock. And James Braddock took this fight. He was going to receive $250 from this fight. He's like, yes, I got to take it. And that guy was the number 2 contender for the heavyweight championship of the world. And he was not expected to win. He even knocks Braddock down, but Braddock comes back and knocks him out because he saw an opening that when he throws that left hook, he becomes too wide. So he just started throwing that double jab and landing that right hand, and he knocks him out eventually. And after this, his career just skyrockets because this guy was the number 1 contender, and now he's fighting him. He fought John Henry Lewis, who actually beat him before, and now he was fighting him. And he fought this guy, and he was beating him. And John Henry Lewis's corner, John Henry Lewis like, dude, you already beat him. He's like, it's not the same guy. And it wasn't the same guy. It was an inspired man. He got another victory after that, and it turns out he was now number one contender for Max Baer's heavyweight title. And the first guy to hear about this was Max Baer. And Max Baer's like, man, give me a real opponent. This guy's a chump. He sucks. And Commissioner's like, dude, you know what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to fight everybody. And so the build-up begins. Max Baer, he had killed 2 men prior to facing Broderick. 2 men. And he was saying that he was going to kill Broderick too. and the promoter even took Broderick into his office, and he showed him films of the movie of one of the fights where he killed a man, and he's like, so what are we gonna do? And Broderick's like, I'm gonna fight him. You think I haven't seen this? You think that scares him? I'm not gonna stop fighting. And a reporter asked his wife, he said, how does it feel that your husband's fighting someone that had previously killed a man? And his wife seems kind of surprised about that. Like she hadn't heard about it. And she stays silent. And this is when Broderick's like, she fears for Baer's life. So the promoters put together a dinner for Broderick and his wife. And it so happens that Max Baer goes in like right after them. And then he sends them some champagne, and Broderick stands up, talks to him. He's like, man, I don't like how you've been talking about that you're going to kill me. My wife's getting worried. And he's like, man, just stay in your place, man. You could throw the fight or whatever, but don't try to be a hero. You're not going to beat me. And they take some pictures, and he's like, and then he's like, all right, whatever. And they're going to leave. And he says, your wife is too pretty to be a widow. And his wife throws champagne at him, and he's like, oh, well, if she's a widow, I'll take her after. And after that, that's when she throws champagne after. And he's like, man, you want your woman fighting for you? He's like, yeah, she's quite a woman, isn't she? And he just walks out. But the setting was set. The conflict was set. James Broderick was old, had been knocked out before, was pretty much considered washed up by all these people. And now he was getting the shot. That's why he was starting to be called the Cinderella Man, because he was making a comeback from a time when he couldn't win like any fights until to now that he had a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. And his wife tried to convince him not to fight him, but he's like, everything's gonna be all right. He had to take this fight. If you have one opportunity, you have to take it. And that's what Broderick did. And he goes into the fight not scared at all. Max Baer tries his dirty tactics, tries low blowing, tries backhanding Broderick, but that doesn't work. That doesn't scare Broderick. Broderick still comes hard, and it looks like a good fight in the movie. It's a good movie fight. I that's what I think. It's a good movie fight. It's entertaining. It goes back and forth, but you could see that like Max Baer being discouraged because he can't knock out this chump, this guy that he should have knocked him out in the first round. After the first round, the media's like, oh, well, I guess it went farther than most people thought. After the first round, they were expecting him to get destroyed, but Broderick was giving him a fight. He would get him back. Mostly Broderick was actually getting hit was hitting Baer with better shots, and just Baer was trying to psych him out. He would clinch him, and he'd be like, hey, does your wife talk about me? what did she say? And at one point he was trying to talk and boom, he hits him with the left hook, then a right hook. It's like, oh, why you trying? Oh, hits him again. Like, fool, you can't talk in a fight. That's what Broderick did. He was teaching this guy a lesson. And then the last round, they're like, okay, you got this in the bag. You got this fight in the bag. And his Broderick's corner was said, just stay away from his right hand, just stay away, you got this one. And Bear's corner like, land that right hand, right hand. But Broderick doesn't stay away. He goes right there and he fights Max Bear, a big puncher, Murder 2 guy. He fights him till the last moment of the last round. Bam, 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 bam. They go at it. Really good last round. He does land his right hand multiple times. He does get hurt. And the times that he does get hurt, it kind of like a dreamland sort of, where he sees his children and his wife, and his children are just playing with toys or whatever, but insinuating that he's doing it for them, and that's why he survives that fight, and he even goes the distance, and he fought him until the last second, even though his corner advised him to stay away. And after the fight, the judges were taking too long, and the reporter asked the referee, he's like, how do you got it? He said 9-5 and 1 even. For who? Read it in the papers, boy. And he was getting the cards from the judges, and they were taking too long. So Jim Broderick's manager's like, what's going on? Damn it. They're going to rob him. And everybody's thinking they're going to rob him just because the judges are taking way too long to bring up their scorecards. But it turns out they got it right. The judges got it right. And the Cinderella man, triumphant, just raises his hands, he goes, finally wins that world title. That defining moment, he has it. And that's how the movie ends. He goes back home and gives the title to his son, and he raises it up, and that's how it ends. And then it shows some slides or some lines, how Broderick's career ended up and how his life ended up. So all in all, a very good movie, very good length. It's about, I'd say like an hour and 45 minutes, 40 minutes. Good length, very entertaining movie. A very simple plot to follow, pretty much. A very simple plot. I think it was very cool how they showed that time, like someone that could be so wealthy just fall so hard, but because of the Great Depression, like it showed how hard those times were for a lot of people. Like it showed in Central Park that people lived in shacks there. That area was called Hooverville. And stuff like that. That's another part I really liked about this movie. Of course, the story was very good and very entertaining, and they ended it on a high note. So, all in all, I don't know much about James J. Broderick, the man, and his career, so I can't judge this movie from like a boxing perspective, but I could judge this as just a straight out movie perspective. And as a straight out movie, knowing nothing about the facts about Broderick's life, this was very entertaining and a very easy watch. And unlike the Raging Bull, I think anybody could watch it, and there's no way you could get offended by this movie. There's not that much blood. It's a beautiful story about an underdog, and that's what we all love to see. Definitely recommended. Must watch? I really enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies either. So there you have it, Cinderella Man. Hit me up with suggestions hit me up with suggestions on what I should review next. Any boxing movies, any movies in general that you may want me to review. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and have a great day. Peace.